Greetings of peace. My name is Ra Imhotep. I am your brother, broadcasting on behalf of 13signs.astrology.com. The reason for this video is because I get a lot of inquiries in regards to people ask me a lot, do you believe in God? I mean, you're into all of this occult stuff. You're into all of this mystical stuff. It seems very dark. It almost seems like devil worship to some people. And people want to know, what are my views on God and even the devil? And I'm going to go into that here. My views on God are this. This is how I look at the whole thing. When you go into words, for me, each word has a source, beloved. Each word has an origin. So when you look into a word, you must go to its origin in order for you to understand, and understand the meaning of that word and the purpose of that word. According to all metaphysical practices, each word has a vibration. So when you use words, they come with a certain vibration, they come with a certain energy, and they basically resonate in the ears, minds, and hearts of the listener or the person that you're speaking to in a certain way based on the word. So when I deal with the term God, the first thing we have to do is define what exactly does God mean. According to the science of the origin of words, and if you look up the word God, and if you go past the Christian beliefs of what the term God means, because if you ask a Christian what does the term God mean, they're going to say the supreme being. And we could take that as a definition. I mean, we could take that as a definition. But the reason why we can't take that as a definition is because, contrary to popular belief, the term God is actually older than Christianity, beloved. The term God is older than Christianity. Christianity is no more than 2,000 years old because the religion of Christianity is based on Christ. And the Christ figure walked the earth, according to all historians. I don't care if you're biblical or whatever, even if you believe in Christ walked the earth or you didn't. That's not my point. The story of Christ doesn't go back anywhere past 2,000 years old. So when you deal with the term God, we're talking of a much older term that goes back into Sanskrit. And when you basically define the term God, it means to invoke from another source. This is what the term God means. It comes from a Sanskrit word which is huta, and it means the invoked. And the Sanskrit is actually a language that was spoken by the Dravidians and the native Eastern Indians. And this is a very old language, and most of our English languages trace back to this language. Some of it traces back to German, which goes back to Sanskrit. Some of it traces back to Latin, which goes back to Sanskrit. Some of it traces back to Greek, which goes back to Sanskrit. So a lot of our terms in English goes back to Sanskrit and even other languages. Some of it goes back to the Chaldean language. Some of it goes back to the Medu Neter, which is the Egyptian language, the ancient Egyptian language. But anyway, in dealing with this term God, it means to invoke. So one might ask, so if the term God means to invoke, if you just put a little bit of common sense into this, because I use common sense in all of my research, if you put a little common sense into this, if the term God means to invoke, then this means that there's various entities and energies that can be invoked, which means that the term God does not trace back to a supreme being or a most high. The term God actually really can go back to a plural meaning because there's multiple gods. This is where I'm getting at. So when you say that, do you believe in God? Yeah, I believe in God, but there's many gods. So as a occultist, and from studying the meaning of words, and as a metaphysician, I would have to say that many gods can be invoked. So for me to base my life and my whole reality off of a deity that may be lesser or greater than myself would be futile. Now, do I invoke these deities and consult these deities as an occultist and a metaphysician? Yes, one can do that. But in dealing with the term God, just because you say that you believe in God does not have anything to do with a supreme source or creator. Now let us go to some of the older words and terms of God. Now if you go into the Bible, which is where most people get their God concepts from, and that's what I'm going to teach from, if you go into the Bible, there is a lot of words that are used if you go into the original languages that the Bible was revealed in, because we must remember, and a lot of people seem like they don't understand this, but the Bible was not revealed in English. It was translated into English, and it was really a whole big old war or falling out about the Bible ever being translated into English, because many people did not want this to happen, because they knew that once the Bible was translated into English, it was going to lose its the words were going to lose its meanings, and people were going to get lost. And that's exactly what has happened, because the English language is what we would call a bastardized language, which means that it's a compilation of many different languages and words, and they're basically compiled into one doctrine. So we all speak English, and I'm not knocking English, but I'm just going into the origin of where it comes from. So when we deal with the English and we say God, and we're dealing with this English language, we have to realize, beloveds, that this was translated into meaning God. So some of us get caught up on the big G and the little g and things of that nature, but this doesn't change the meaning of the word. The meaning of the word God is really a plural term. There's more than one God, period. So when we deal with the term God, we have to go back to the original languages. And if we go back to, let's say, the Greek language, we come up with a term that's called Adonai, or it's Adonai, depending on how you pronounce it, Adonai. And this basically means Lord. This is what this means, Lord. So if you would ask me, do I believe in the Lord? Well, if you go into the meaning of the word Lord, Lord actually means master. A Lord is a master or a teacher or someone that basically is a adept at teaching a certain doctrine. So a Lord is basically a master. So do I believe in lords and masters? Yes. Do I put my faith and all of my life into that? No. So what I'm basically trying to point out here is that we have to understand the meanings of words and the origins of words if we're going to understand what exactly it is that we are worshiping, believing in, and putting our whole life purpose into. Another term for God in the older languages is Yahweh. Yahweh. Some people call it Jehovah, but that's actually a translation of Yahweh. The original way to say it is Yahweh. Now, if you define what Yahweh means, this is a Hebrew. It's a compilation of Hebrew, which really goes back to the Egyptian. But if you define Yahweh, this is actually a term that means good and evil, or a compilation of good and evil. This is what the term Yahweh means. It literally means good and evil. Yah meaning good, and Weh meaning evil. So when we deal with Yahweh, this is talking about a being that is a mixture of agreeable or good and a mixture of disagreeable or so-called bad. So when we say, do you believe in Yahweh? I mean, all of this really is going back to the self. Because if you think about it, humans are a mixture of truth and falsehood, good and evil, right and wrong, and all of these different things. So when we deal with this term Yahweh, it's still going back. It's not really taking us back to a pristine meaning of what most people believe that, as far as the concept of God. It's not taking us back to that. We have another term that we have in the Bible that translates into God, because remember, they just translate all of these different terms that I'm telling you, they make them all just mean one thing, God, and that's not what they mean. Now the other term is Elohim. Now the term Elohim is actually plural, and this is the term that is used in Genesis when God says, let us make man. Many of you are very familiar with this, but this is actually the term Elohim, and Elohim is plural for El, and El means deity, which is another term for God. So when you talk about Elohims, this is a council of more than one, a group of beings creating man. So it's saying, let us make man. So when you say, do I believe in God, as far as the Elohim, this is still dealing with the group. So of course I draw for that. I mean, I agree with the term Elohim. I understand what it means. Do I believe in it? Yes, I believe in it, because I know exactly what it means. But this is not still going back to this is still not going back to the origins, and it's still not a very pristine word to use when we're dealing with the concept of what most of us in this Western society believe that God is. Like, even when you deal with the Elohim, this would make you what they call, like in religious theological schools and thoughts, they would call you a polytheist. Because if you believe in more than one God, you're a polytheist, but the Elohim is basically more than one God, beloved. So, I mean, man, it's just like we have to really understand these words and like what they really mean if we're going to like get to the heart and essence of what it is that we really believe in. Before you put your faith in something, you have to understand exactly what it is that you believe. And this is why, I want to say this too before I go ahead and finish off, but this is why so much confusion in the world right now, and it's why all these different religions, I don't care if it's Muslims, Christians, or Jews, it's like, wow, you guys can't get it together, is because basically you guys disagreeing on different theological purposes, and in the meanwhile, I'm sorry, you guys are disagreeing on different theological schools of thought, and in the meantime, we have all of this lower self worship going on in the world, and nobody's stopping this stuff. I mean, we have murder going on, we have theft, all the different 10 commandments and the things that these religious people are supposed to be against is going on around us all the time. And the thing is that nobody's going to stop it, because these religious people are sitting here arguing with each other over who God is and who saves and who isn't and all of this stuff, when none of us are really doing the work. Or none of you guys, I'm not putting myself in that category because I'm not religious, but none of you guys are doing the work of your prophets and what they were actually doing, like Jesus. I mean, nobody's doing the work of what Jesus was actually doing, which he was going to war against the powers that be. Nobody's doing that. They're sitting here arguing with each other, trying to convert each other into different man-made religions. Because that's what it comes down to. Religion is a man-made school of thought, like all of it. I don't care if you're dealing with Islam, Christianity, or Judaism. You might not like what I'm saying, but it's man-made. It's man-made. So, going back to this term God, if you really want to deal with God, I personally believe in the Most High. I believe that there is a Most High that originated this universe and this multiverse that we live in. Do I believe this Most High is a man upstairs? No, because that's another thing that we get caught up into. We think that God is a man upstairs. People ask me all the time, like, do you believe in the man upstairs? Well, man is the flesh and finite. So this means if I'm saying that I believe in a man and God is a man, and I'm putting my faith into that, then that means that I'm putting my faith into a finite being that's going to pass away one day. So how can I put my faith into that? So really, the Most High, in my book, is a force, a source of energy that one can tap into to create and manifest in their life. As far as the devil, what is the devil? I'm going to touch on that. The devil is the lower self. This is what the devil is. In the Greek language, devil is diabolo, which basically comes from the term diabolical, which means wicked, evil, low, things of this nature. So really, the devil is your flesh. That's the devil. The devil is your flesh, like your fleshly body. It's nothing else. So when we deal with this term God and devil, even if you look into the Bible, when we deal with the term devil, the devil really isn't used too much in the Bible except when it's addressed as evil. I'm speaking in the original languages here. Like many of you believe in this man downstairs that has a pitchfork and horns, and this is the devil. And you believe that this entity exists in hell, when really, in reality, you are the devil. You are your own weakness and your own lower self. The devil is in you, and you are your own Most High, or Creator, which is found in your heart. And this is the thing that nobody wants to look at. It all goes back to self. So, I mean, you can get caught up on these different terms and words and get caught up in confusion, because that's all it is, confusion, and you miss the point and not dealing with exactly who this Creator is. But at the end of the day, if you go ahead and just look at the origins of the words and really do your research, you're going to find out that really all these words are not describing what you guys think God is. I'm talking about like people that are in religion. Like, these words are not describing what you guys are imagining in your mind. These words are not tracing you back to that. And that's why the religious schools cannot clean up this planet, is because they are lost. They are confused. So if you really want to get it right, beloved, I'm going to go ahead and cut this video off because I only have 15 minutes. But if you really want to get it right, I suggest you do your research. You begin to look up these words. You begin to define them. And you begin to understand what all these words mean, and you come up with a God concept that is best for you. Because even in the book of Psalms, it says that ye are children of God. Ye are all gods. I'm sorry, it says ye are all gods, children of the Most High God. So you are God. Even the Bible tells you this. You are God. But you're a child of the Most High, which is not a man. It's not a physical being. And that's where a lot of people get lost. I hope this video was helpful. I'm broadcasting on behalf of 13scienceastrology.com. Please visit our site to get more knowledge and uplifting information. Peace and love. Have a blessed day.